The morning is sacred. Picture this. You open your eyes and the world is still quiet. The air carries a softness, the sun hasn't fully risen yet, and for a brief moment, life feels like a clean slate. Yesterday's mistakes, yesterday's worries, yesterday's noise, none of it has the right to invade this new beginning unless you invite it in. And yet most of us do. We grab our phones, we scroll through messages, we rehearse the battles we haven't even fought yet, and we let stress walk into the room before we've even taken our first breath of the day. But what if you didn't? What if, instead of waking up already behind, you woke up already full? Every morning is a blank page, but how you choose to write it will define the story of your day, and the ink you choose matters. Some people wake up and write with worry, some with doubt, some with anger, but there is another choice, the choice to begin with happiness. Because happiness isn't something you stumble upon later in the day. It's something you plant right here, right now, the moment you open your eyes. And if you start with happiness, everything changes. Let's begin. Number 1, the power of mornings. Mornings are more powerful than most of us ever realize. They are not just the beginning of a day. They are the seed of how every moment after will unfold. Imagine two people waking up in the same city on the same morning. The first person opens their eyes, takes a deep breath, and whispers quietly, "Thank you." They feel the weight of the blanket, the softness of the pillow, the quiet hum of life outside the window. They don't rush for their phone or rehearse the stress of the day ahead. Instead, they let gratitude settle in. The second person wakes up, sighs heavily, and immediately feels the weight of yesterday crash into today. They think about the deadlines, the bills, the arguments, the endless have-tos. Their first act is to groan, to complain, to dread. Now watch how the 2 days unfold. The grateful one notices the sunlight breaking through the curtains like a gentle reminder that life still offers beauty. They sip their morning coffee slowly, and when challenges appear, they face them with a calmer heart. They are not immune to problems, but they carry resilience because their morning filled them with strength. The one who began with complaints, however, sees only more reasons to be frustrated. The traffic feels worse, the boss seems harsher, the smallest inconvenience feels like proof that life is against them. By noon, their shoulders are heavy with stress, while the grateful one still walks with lightness. The truth is, mornings are mirrors. What you put into them is reflected back to you throughout the day. If you feed them gratitude, the day grows brighter. If you feed them resentment, the day becomes darker. The sun doesn't rise with anger, it rises with promise. It shows up faithfully, without asking whether you're ready or not. The question is, how do you meet it? Do you rise with the same promise, or do you drag yesterday's shadows into today's light? When you start your morning with gratitude, you open your life to possibilities. You see opportunities where others see burdens. You connect with the deeper truth that every single day is a gift. Mornings are not obligations, they are invitations. Invitations to choose joy, to choose presence, to choose happiness before the world has a chance to tell you who you should be. And once you recognize this, mornings stop being something you have to get through and start becoming something you get to embrace. That shift alone can transform everything about the way you live. Would you like me to expand this section closer to 700 words by deepening the storytelling, maybe adding more sensory detail of how each character's day unfolds hour by hour? Number 2, happiness is a choice, not a circumstance. Happiness has never been about what happens to you. It has always been about how you respond to what happens. Too often we place our joy on hold as if it were some prize waiting for us at the end of perfect conditions. We say to ourselves, I'll be happy when I have more money, I'll be happy when I find love, I'll be happy when everything finally settles down. But the truth is, if you wait for life to be perfect to be happy, you'll wait forever. Happiness doesn't bloom from circumstances, it blooms from choice. Think of a storm. One person walks through the rain complaining about how unfair it is to get wet, while another person opens an umbrella, feels the cool drops against their skin, and smiles at the freshness of the air. The storm didn't change. What changed was the response. Life is the same way. It will rain on all of us. It will storm over all of us. But what we carry, our perspective, our choice, determines whether we drown in misery or dance in the rain. It's like a seed planted in the soil. The same seed can fall on dry, cracked ground and wither away, or it can land in fertile soil and grow into something magnificent. The seed is life itself, neutral, full of potential, but the soil is your mindset. What grows depends on where you choose to plant it. I once heard a story of a woman who lost her job unexpectedly. She had every reason to complain, every reason to sink into despair. Bills piled up, her confidence shook, her future seemed uncertain. But instead of wallowing, she chose joy. She decided each morning to list 3 things she was grateful for. She started small: her morning coffee, the roof over her head, the sunlight warming her skin, and as she focused on what she still had instead of what she lost, her energy shifted. Soon, she walked into interviews with a glow that couldn't be faked. Employers noticed, opportunities opened, and within weeks, she found work that was better than what she lost. Her happiness didn't come because circumstances changed. It came because she chose it first, and the world followed her lead. That's the power most people never realize. Life bends toward the energy you carry. If you wake up angry, life gives you more reasons to stay angry. If you wake up grateful, life reveals more things to be grateful for. You may not control the storms, but you do control whether you carry an umbrella or let yourself be soaked. And here's the most liberating truth. Happiness isn't about denying pain or pretending problems don't exist. It's about choosing not to let pain own you. It's about saying, yes, this is hard, but I refuse to let it steal my joy. Because happiness is not about ignoring reality, it's about shaping it. The world is filled with people waiting for the perfect conditions to smile, and yet the happiest people are often the ones who had none of those conditions but chose to smile anyway. Happiness is not something you stumble upon, it is something you practice. It's the courage to say, today I choose joy, not because everything is perfect, but because I refuse to let imperfection rob me of peace. When you realize this, everything changes. Happiness stops being a faraway dream and becomes a decision you can make right now, in this moment, with the breath in your lungs and the heart in your chest. And that decision, the simple but powerful choice to be happy, can bend the direction of your entire life. Number 3, habits that create morning happiness. Happiness doesn't just arrive like a surprise gift on your doorstep. It's something you can invite, nurture, and welcome each morning through small, intentional habits. Think of it like planting seeds. If you scatter them in the soil of your morning, they bloom throughout the day, shaping how you see yourself, how you treat others, and how you handle whatever comes your way. One of the most powerful seeds is gratitude. Before you reach for your phone, before you check what the world wants from you, pause and write down just one thing you're thankful for. It doesn't have to be grand. It could be the sound of rain against the window, the roof over your head, or even the simple fact that you woke up with another chance at life. Gratitude shifts the entire vibration of your mind. I once knew someone who struggled deeply with stress and emptiness, but when she began jotting down one small gratitude every morning, her perspective shifted. Within weeks, she said her mornings felt lighter, her days calmer. It wasn't the world that changed. It was the lens she chose to look through, and gratitude gave her that lens. Another doorway to morning happiness is movement. Your body isn't just a machine that carries you around, it is the vessel that carries your mind. When you move, you don't just wake up your muscles, you awaken your spirit. I knew a man who battled morning fatigue every single day, dragging himself out of bed only to collapse into the heaviness of his thoughts. But one day he decided to try something different. Instead of scrolling his phone, he stretched for 5 minutes, then walked around his block as the sun rose. That tiny act was a revolution. He said it was as if his body whispered to his mind, "We're alive, let's begin." You don't need an hour-long workout to change your life. You just need to remind your body that it is capable, that it is alive, and that movement is the first celebration of the day. Silence is another habit that reshapes mornings. We live in a world of constant noise, where silence feels like a luxury, but in reality, it's a necessity. Happiness grows in the space between your thoughts. Just 2 minutes of sitting in stillness, breathing deeply, can reframe your entire day. I think of a woman who once told me her mornings were her enemy, filled with chaos, screaming children, endless notifications. She was always late, always rushed, always on edge. One morning she woke 10 minutes earlier and sat in her kitchen, eyes closed, simply breathing. She said the silence felt awkward at first, but soon it became the anchor of her day. That stillness gave her patience for her children, clarity for her work, and most importantly, peace with herself. Silence wasn't empty, it was full of everything she needed. And then there are words, the ones you choose to speak to yourself before the world speaks to you. Affirmations are not magic spells, but they are mirrors. When you say, "I am enough, I am capable, I will face today with joy," you're not pretending to be something you're not. You're reminding yourself of who you truly are beneath the noise. I remember a man who struggled with crippling self-doubt. Every morning he would wake up hearing the voice of his failures. But he started standing in front of the mirror, declaring out loud who he chose to be. At first it felt fake, even foolish, but over time his words began to shape his reality. His coworkers noticed he carried himself differently. His friends noticed he laughed more. He noticed that life no longer felt like a constant battle because his mornings had already declared victory. These habits, gratitude, movement, silence, affirmation, are not chores. They are choices. They are not restrictions, but freedoms. Each is a doorway that leads you out of the prison of autopilot living and into a life of conscious joy. The truth is, you don't have to change your whole world to change your mornings. You just have to choose one small ritual that reminds you happiness is not something you wait for. It is something you create. Imagine this. Instead of waking up to stress, you wake up to gratitude. Instead of rushing, you begin with movement. Instead of chaos, you begin with silence. Instead of doubt, you begin with affirmations. What kind of life would unfold from mornings like that? The answer is simple. One filled with strength, clarity, and peace. Happiness is built not in grand gestures, but in sacred habits, and the morning is your greatest canvas. Every day you wake, you hold the brush, paint it with gratitude, paint it with movement, paint it with silence, paint it with words of life, and watch how happiness doesn't just visit your mornings, it begins to live in them. Number 4, the enemies of morning happiness. The morning is a gift, but too often we sabotage it before it even begins. Think about the very first thing most people do when they open their eyes. They don't breathe deeply, they don't stretch, they don't pause to whisper gratitude for another day. Instead, their hand reaches instinctively for a phone. Notifications flood the screen, messages pull their attention. Headlines scream disaster, social media whispers comparison. Before they even sit up in bed, they've already surrendered their peace. The person who checks their phone before even getting out of bed starts their day carrying the weight of the world, as if their mind were a sponge absorbing everyone else's noise before it even has a chance to absorb its own calm. Happiness doesn't stand a chance when chaos gets the first word. Social media is perhaps the most dangerous thief of morning happiness. You wake up and within seconds, you're not living your life, you're scrolling through someone else's. A perfect vacation, a smiling couple, a shiny achievement, and suddenly, instead of being grateful for the breath in your lungs and the chance of a new day, you're measuring your life against someone else's highlight reel. The sun doesn't rise with comparison. The sun rises with promise. Yet too many people miss that promise because their eyes are locked on a screen instead of the light coming through their window. Comparison is poison, and when you drink it first thing in the morning, the bitterness spreads into everything else you touch. Another enemy of morning happiness is carrying yesterday into today. The mind replays arguments, failures, disappointments, as if dragging old shadows into a brand new sunrise. Imagine this. Yesterday you made a mistake at work, and instead of letting it rest, you wake up already rehearsing the shame. Yesterday a relationship strained your heart, and instead of giving yourself grace, you wake up already reliving the pain. The problem with reliving yesterday's failures is that it blinds you to the clean slate of today. Happiness cannot survive in a heart that refuses to let go. The morning is not meant to be an endless echo of yesterday. It is meant to be a reset, a chance to begin again, but only if you let it. Rushing is another subtle but powerful thief. Many people leap out of bed as if they're already late, racing through routines with no breath, no pause, no presence. Coffee is gulped, clothes are thrown on, minds are already 3 steps ahead while their bodies are still catching up. And in that chaos, happiness is lost. Because happiness is not something that thrives in a rush. It thrives in stillness. The difference between rushing and breathing is the difference between dragging yourself through the day and walking into it with dignity. Picture 2 mornings. One person runs out the door spilling coffee, already irritated by traffic before they've even hit the road. Another person wakes a little earlier, breathes in the silence, takes a few minutes to journal or pray, and begins the day grounded. The same day awaits them both, but one enters it carrying storm clouds, the other carrying sunlight. These enemies of morning happiness, phones, comparison, reliving the past, rushing, might seem small, but they stack like bricks until you've built a wall between yourself and joy. And the tragedy is, you don't even notice it happening. You simply wonder why you feel heavy, why your mind feels crowded, why your day feels like a burden before it's even begun. But here's the truth. What you feed your mind first thing in the morning becomes the soundtrack of your entire day. If you feed it noise, you'll walk with noise. If you feed it negativity, you'll carry negativity. But if you feed it peace, gratitude, and intention, you'll carry a melody that lifts not only you, but everyone around you. The choice is always yours. Every morning gives you the opportunity to protect your happiness or to hand it over. And when you begin to see mornings as the battlefield they are, you'll learn to guard your first moments like treasure, because they shape everything that follows. Number 5, the ripple effect of starting with happiness. Happiness in the morning is not just about how you feel for a few hours. It is the foundation on which the rest of your life is built. When you wake up and choose happiness before anything else, you are not only shifting your own energy, you are shaping the way you move through the world and the way the world responds to you. Think of happiness as light. When you carry it with you in the morning, you don't just shine for yourself, you light the room for others. People feel it in the way you smile, in the way you listen, in the way your presence softens the edges of their own heavy day. A person who starts with happiness becomes a ripple that touches everyone around them, whether they realize it or not. Imagine walking into your office. If you arrive tense, frustrated, still carrying the weight of a rushed or bitter morning, that energy leaks into the room. People notice your sighs, your short words, your distracted gaze. But if you arrive with calm, with joy, with a heart that has already chosen gratitude, suddenly conversations flow more easily, problems feel less sharp, and others feel safer in your presence. That is the power of one morning decision. Consider a parent, a mother who wakes up stressed, already irritated by yesterday's chores, sets the tone for the household. Children feel the tension in her voice, they learn to mirror her energy, and the home becomes heavy. But imagine that same mother waking up with a simple ritual of gratitude, maybe whispering 3 things she's thankful for before she even leaves her bed. She greets her children with warmth, she handles small chaos with patience, and suddenly the entire house feels lighter. Her choice to start the morning with happiness doesn't just shape her, it shapes her family. And over time, those mornings become the memories her children carry. The ripple of her happiness becomes part of their foundation. Or think of a leader, a manager who starts the day scrolling through emails in frustration and walking into the office already stressed infects their entire team with that pressure. Productivity drops, creativity dries up, and people feel drained just by being near them. But when a leader begins their morning grounded in joy, when they choose to smile first, breathe first, center themselves before stepping into the day, their energy inspires the team. People feel safe to share ideas. They work harder not out of fear, but because they feel uplifted. One leader's morning happiness can raise the standard of an entire organization. The ripple effect also shows up in the smallest of interactions. You may not realize it, but your mood in the morning is the tone you carry into the world. The barista feels it when you greet them with kindness instead of rushing. The stranger on the train feels it when you smile instead of frowning at your phone. Your partner feels it when you hug them a little longer instead of walking past with distracted silence. Starting your day with happiness creates invisible threads that weave into the lives of everyone you encounter. It is never just about you. Happiness multiplies the moment it is shared, and the easiest way to share it is to carry it from the very start of the day. The beauty of it all is that one small shift in the morning creates exponential impact. When you choose joy instead of stress, gratitude instead of complaint, presence instead of rush, your decisions throughout the day naturally align with that energy. You handle challenges with patience instead of anger. You see opportunities where others see obstacles. You attract people who reflect the light you carry. And at the end of the day, you don't collapse under the weight of negativity. You close your eyes knowing you gave the best of yourself and that your happiness lifted more than just your own spirit. One morning choice becomes a life pattern. One ripple becomes a wave. And when you practice starting your day with happiness, that wave transforms not just your mornings, but your entire life. Every morning you wake up is life handing you another chance. A chance to begin again. A chance to rewrite the story you told yourself yesterday. A chance to let go of what weighed you down and step into what could lift you higher. The truth is, mornings are not just hours on a clock, they are doorways. And what you choose to walk through with sets the tone for everything that follows. Most people don't see it. They stumble out of bed carrying yesterday's burdens, rushing into today's noise, and they wonder why their lives feel like an endless cycle of stress and emptiness. But you know now, you've seen it clearly. The way you start your day is the way you shape your life. Start with stress, and your world shrinks. Start with joy, and your world expands. Start with doubt, and you'll trip over yourself. Start with happiness, and everything begins to align. That's the secret. The truth hidden in plain sight. Happiness is not something you wait for, it's something you plant in the very first moments of your day. So I challenge you. Not next week, not someday, tomorrow morning, before the world demands anything of you, before your phone screams for your attention, before you relive yesterday or rush into today, choose happiness first, just for 7 days. Wake up and smile before you have a reason. Whisper gratitude for one thing you already have. Sit in silence for 2 minutes before you run into the noise. Breathe deeply, as if the air itself is reminding you you're alive, and that is enough. And then walk into your day carrying that energy, that light, that quiet but unshakable joy. For 7 days, protect your first moments like treasure. For 7 days, give yourself permission to start, not with fear, not with anger, not with rush, but with happiness. Watch how your mood shifts. Watch how people respond differently to you. Watch how opportunities feel closer, how problems feel smaller, how life itself feels softer in your hands. Because here's the miracle: happiness multiplies. When you start with it, you don't just change your morning, you change your relationships, your work, your resilience, your entire outlook. You stop waiting for life to hand you joy, and you begin to hand joy to life, and life, in return, gives it back tenfold. Start your day with happiness, and watch how everything begins to align. Like the sunrise breaking the darkness, like light spilling into every shadow, your choice will ripple out in ways you cannot yet imagine. Every morning, life gives you the pen and says, "Write again." The question is, will you write another page of stress and distraction, or will you write a story of joy, of peace, of strength? Tomorrow is your blank page. Don't waste it. Don't hand it to yesterday's regrets or today's chaos. Hold it, own it, fill it with happiness. Because when you do, your day will not just be another day. It will be the beginning of the life you've been waiting to live. And that life starts not someday, not when everything is perfect, but now, right here, right when you open your eyes. Choose happiness at sunrise and watch how it colors every hour that follows. Your life is too precious to begin it in darkness. So rise with the light, rise with gratitude, rise with joy, and let the world feel the sunrise inside you. Because when you start your day with happiness, you don't just change your morning, you change everything.